Hey folks, this clip is brought to you by Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey from Lockstill Distillery. Make your own luck just like Tennessee football's fast-paced Rattle and Snap offense with Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey. Let's quickly talk about the defense. Lordy. The defense, quote unquote, played better in the second half, but Florida rolled over and died. Graham Mertz was hurt.
They did the same thing Georgia did last season, basically. They just tried to kill the clock.
Yeah, they folded it up. Now, Georgia was more effective than Florida was. I mean, Florida kept giving the ball back to Tennessee. Let's be honest. Tennessee, we were talking about this before we came on here. Tennessee had Florida. You could tell. It specifically when it came down to that, the fourth and 3 or whatever
where
it was.
The referee punted the ball?
Is that
what you're talking about?
Where the referee... Oh, no.
Oh, you're talking about when Florida was on offense. Okay.
Florida's on offense. And I think
I believe.
It was 29-16 or maybe 26-16 at that point, even. And I got to go back and check the exact situation. But Florida's just going into hard count, and they're trying to draw Tennessee off sides. Before they do that, and obviously Tennessee bit, and it was the most frustrating thing I've ever seen. I cannot tell you how mad I was. It's the most elementary thing. It's the most elementary thing. Like, you know that's all they're doing. Because they were on like their own 30. Like, they are not gonna go for it. They're not stupid. And Tennessee jumps. But before that happened, you could genuinely feel Florida was getting a little I called it lemon booty. It's that they were tightening it up. And you could feel the crowd going, okay, what are we doing? Then, because I think it was after the Brew McCoy long touchdown, and you could just feel the crowd going, what is it? No, this is not good. And then they draw Tennessee offsides there, get the first down. The crowd gets reignited, and it was over. That was it. That ended the game.
2 minutes, another 2 minutes or so off the clock. Because I don't think they still after. They didn't pick up a lot of yards, but they still bled another 2.5 minutes off the clock. There was like 4 or 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter by that point. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, you got to score quick, and Tennessee didn't score at all, or this thing is over. Like, that's kind of your last chance at that point. So that was back-breaking right there. Absolutely back-breaking. But the defense did. There was plays made in the second half. In the first half, it was just fundamentals, the tackling. Just horrendous tackling from almost everyone not named Aaron Beasley at times. You saw some of the youth from like James Pierce, I felt like, where this guy's going to be an unbelievable pass rusher, and he already is in some regards. But when he's in there in a running situation, the guy doesn't really set the edge really well, or doesn't know how to yet. I don't know. I noticed that a couple of times where it felt like he could have contained the running game there, and he was out of position, which kind of allowed for a big game. Just from my view, a defensive coordinator Tim Banks or somebody might look at that and tell me I'm wrong, but from the average fan watching on television, that seemed to be an issue that was hurting Tennessee at times. But I think you noticed the loss of Keenan Peely, especially that over the middle stuff. He's really good in coverage. He's an excellent tackler. We saw that, and we only saw him against Virginia, but there were several plays where it just seemed like he was always in the right spot. He read the plays correctly, and he was able to communicate really effectively on the field. I don't know if that's Aaron Beasley's strong suit. I'm not saying Beasley's a bad communicator. I just think he's a little quieter by nature. Obviously, he's the best player on the team, possibly, or one of the best players on the team. He's one of the only guys last season at South Carolina that really showed up, and he showed up against Florida. But I feel like Peely is the guy that's going to get everybody kind of where they need to be. He's going to see maybe what Florida's doing and able to communicate that a little more effectively. So I know he's on the sidelines there. It's not the same as being on the field. I think that might have been the biggest issue for the defense, between that and just the poor tackling, especially from the secondary. It wasn't just Kamal Haddon. Tamarian McDonald had some moments that he'd probably like back. Warren Burrell, Turnage, they all had moments where it's like you're jumping at this pump fake. You're right there in position, but you don't make a play on the ball. Just the same stuff that we've been seeing for a while from the defensive backs. And I do think that eventually that's going to have to be a conversation. Like, I like Willie Martinez. He's been around. This is his second stint at Tennessee. I think he's a good dude. People love him. But it's just not getting better. Like, you're seeing the same mistakes over and over and over. And you can't win in the SEC with those mistakes. You just can't. And not having Jason Dyer mentions it. Slaughter was unavailable per Josh Heupel, so he was out. That's another cornerback you're down that you don't have in there, and it was just too much to overcome. I feel like that the poor tackling, not having Peely out there, just really made those mistakes even worse.
Timothy asks, is Keenan Peely coming back this year? I think he's like a ninth-year senior, isn't he? Oh, you mean coming back during the season?
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, the prognosis.
So, look, I think at this point where we are with Josh Heupel, and look, I'm 100% Josh Heupel. Like, I'm not anywhere near that realm of things. Hopefully, nobody is. That would be silly after last season. But I think we've discovered that we cannot trust him at all when it comes to injuries. And it's not just a Cooper Mays thing. I mean, it's constantly. And then these injuries that we never even hear about, never even get a hint of. I mean, he closes practice throughout the season. He's very secretive. That's fine. I get it. But I'm also not going to guess that Peely's going to be back for sure this season after he insinuated that he would just see where he's at in a few weeks. And then some of the other people closer to the program are like, yeah, maybe November. Like, we'll see. Yeah. So hopefully he's back. They need him, but they're going to have to figure out how to win without him, because if you can't wait on November to get going.
Yeah, I mean, you saw Arian Carter out there, and he's young. You could tell. Elijah Herring, you could tell. He's green.
And Herring made a big mistake too, right? The late hit on the quarterback that was soft. It was so soft. He barely nudged him, but it was one of those things where it's like you got to know that you can't hit the quarterback like that. Even if you're just trying to send a little message like, hey, I'm here, I got you, or something like that, you just can't do that. They're going to call that, especially in that game. I mean, the officiating wasn't great. Not why Tennessee lost, but it's why they didn't have a chance probably to come back. It certainly didn't help matters. And it was a night that was kind of everything seemed like it was going against Tennessee. And I know we always probably have problems with the officiating, but that was one of the more egregiously officiated games I think any of us have seen. So that's just a mistake by Herring that you just can't make if you're going to play those kind of snaps in important games.
I hate bringing up officiating when you get your butt kicked, because it's not the reason Tennessee lost. The officiating in that game was garbage, absolute, just straight up trash. But
like the blindside block on McAllen Castles, I think that was horrible. Like when Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler are losing their minds over some of these calls. And I'm not saying that they're in that booth hoping that Tennessee loses or hoping Florida wins. I know some Tennessee fans might feel that way or might be annoyed by things Chris Fowler said in 1998 or 97, whenever.
Trailer Park Frenzy, baby.
They don't go into that booth carrying it. Like, they have a job to do, and it's a tough job. It's not easy calling those games. I mean, it's fun, but it's not easy. And when they're pointing that stuff out, it's pretty bad.
Few things go better with a Tennessee sports victory than an awesome whiskey. And actually, me and Jonathan Crompton had a drink of whiskey during the postgame show of every football win this past season. And more specifically, we had Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. You can see it right there behind me. Log Still Distillery has released a new Tennessee whiskey product line called Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey, named after a long-forgotten game of chance. Rattle and Snap is a whiskey for those who make their own luck. There's a 4-year and an 8-year version of Rattle and Snap whiskey. And actually, this one behind me is the 4-year version right here. It's perfect for making your favorite whiskey cocktails or just drinking neat. It's really great stuff. And I mean, you can see it there. The bottle looks great too. You can find Rattle and Snap right now in stores across Tennessee. And Rattle and Snap is also available in Kentucky, Indiana, and Mississippi. So run, don't walk to get yourself some Rattle and Snap whiskey. And follow Rattle and Snap on Instagram at Rattle and Snap Whiskey. That is Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. Yeah, I mean, when Chris Trailer Park Frenzy Fowler is on your side, you know that the officiating is bad. We got a whole number of people kind of talking about this in the comments here, but Tracy says there's something we're not seeing. Heupel have weird vibes on this week's pregame. Do we have locker room issues? And we've alluded to it a little bit there when you saw Dylan Sampson with his sort of cryptic Instagram. You posted a video, Zach, on the A to Z Sports Big Orange podcast Twitter feed of Aaron Beasley giving kind of an odd answer to a question, and people were debating, oh, is he, kind of throwing shots? And this is the stuff that happens when you lose in a humiliating way like this. You just if Tennessee had played its best game and Florida played its best game, you lose on a last second field goal, you go, okay, we gave it our all. Classic, losing in the swamp, whatever happened, and dang it, you just couldn't pull through. But when you lose the way you did in this game and just get waxed, that's when this stuff starts coming out, and the passive aggressive Instagrams and the what does he mean by this in a press conference and his blah 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 blah. None of us are gonna know. Heupel is very close-lipped about all of that. They don't like having any of that out there. He's done so well everywhere in terms of any kind of PR. I mean, it just doesn't seem like he lets that stuff happen. And I think his players like him, and I think they believe in what he's doing. That doesn't mean you're not going to have locker room problems, but I think his players do believe in what he's doing. How could you not after last season? But maybe you do. Maybe it's something like they don't believe in Milton, or maybe it's something like they don't, some rift. Who knows? Obviously all that's complete speculation, but you just, it kind of happened with Jeremy Banks after the South Carolina game last year. Oh, what do you do? Why is he not playing? And if we would have had him, we would have won. And it always happens after games like this. And I hate it, dude. It's so annoying. Just don't do this. And then we don't have to have these discussions. But I don't know if you have any insight there, Zach.
Yeah, I think it can be exhausting trying to figure out if there's locker room issues. I think that's just the easy thing to go to after a loss. I think I wrote about it earlier today. I think sometimes a loss is just a loss. Sometimes you have an off night. Maybe there is some people that don't see eye to eye on something, or maybe there are some people unhappy. I mean, you got a roster full of over 100 kids. I feel like we talk about this constantly, but not everybody's going to get along at all times. And that's championship teams, that's non-championship teams. I mean, Georgia's been having issues all summer since winning their national championship. Look at what Florida, in 2007, 6, 8, the Urban Meyer years, they won 2 championships. And I know the Netflix documentary on them is not nearly as juicy as we wanted it to be and left out a ton of stuff. But there's stories about these dudes fighting each other and getting into it with each other if somebody wasn't putting forth enough effort. Like, these things happen. And I'm not saying that that's what's happened at Tennessee this week. I really don't know in regards to this week, but I don't think there's just crazy, just locker room drama that people want to think that there is. I think that some things happen now and then, every now and then, yes. And I think there might be some unhappiness, or maybe some players that think you should do this or that, quarterback. I don't know, but I don't think it's like on the verge of falling apart or anything like that. It wasn't after South Carolina. I mean, they recovered just fine against Vanderbilt and Clemson. I thought Heupel handled that perfectly, and I think they'll handle this well. I think it'll be fine. I think some of those comments on Saturday night after the game from Heupel and the players, they just lost in the swamp, a game that they knew they needed to win. It's devastating. I mean, you want it to be a solemn vibe. And the comment from Beasley, like, he said what he said. He answered the question. I think the question was like, did you see anything during fall camp? Or from what you saw in fall camp, does the undisciplined play surprise you? And he said, no, sir, it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe he didn't hear the question right. Maybe those words came out differently than the way he wanted them to. It happens. It happens to all of us. It's that one little moment. He also said, in his post-game presser, that he felt like the team had the leadership to overcome this. So I don't think that stuff is too riled up over. I just don't.
I'm not gonna get worried about it unless you just, like, near the end of Butch's time and during Pruitt's time, like, you could see serious discontent. I don't see that here. Like, we were close enough to the programs then to see like what that really looks like, and I don't see that here. It's you're running back who wants playing time being a little melodramatic, and it's maybe a kid accidentally shooting his mouth off at a press conference. I'm not putting a ton of weight in it.
But you'll know when there's locker room issues.
Yeah.
See, it will be very evident. Players will transfer like they did at the end of the Butch Jones era. You'll see the stuff on social media. There will be no questions. There will be defensive answers from coaches in press conferences. Like, we're nowhere close to that. No one needs to worry about that. Even if this season ends up being 8-5, it is what it is. Like, it happens sometimes. Fulmer had those years right after winning championships. Just, it happens. It's college football. If you don't have elite quarterback play right now, it's really tough. Just ask Nick Saban. You look at Georgia too. They weren't too hot this weekend against South Carolina. I mean, it's certain things you have to win a national championship, and everyone's kind of struggling right now to find it.